On Friday, a conference dubbed "Not to the Escalation of the Conflict in Ukraine, the Peoples of Europe Want Peace" was held in the Italian capital, Rome. Retired Italian army officers, ambassadors, geopolitical analysts and politicians representing the so-called area of dissent attended the initiative organized by the think tank Center for Studies on Eurasia and the Mediterranean. During the conference, all speakers warned of a dangerous escalation in the Ukraine-Russia war as the US and its NATO allies continue to pump ever more powerful weapons into Ukraine.
Currently, NATO has changed de facto its mandate. NATO is a defensive alliance, and what we are seeing over the last 2 years and a half is incorrect, is not appropriate to the mandate and to the treaty itself. That's my advice. Of course, I've been 37 years in the Italian army. It is clear, but it's really unusual to see that NATO has an offensive posture, and this is something that really concerns.
Conference speakers stressed that the EU has been dismantling its economic power and industrial fabric by being forced to sell off its strategic assets to US multinationals and cut ties with Russia following the war in Ukraine. The EU relied on Moscow for up to 40% of its gas supplies until 2022. A recent public opinion survey conducted by the European Council on Foreign Relations across EU countries shows that the majority of Europeans are against raising defense spending, sending fresh arms to Kiev or sending boots on the ground to Ukraine. In short, most Europeans are against national and continental politicians' war rhetoric, and their distrust of NATO is on the rise.
It's not just a split. There is an abyss between what the Europeans demand and what their political representatives actually do. The EU, and Italy as well, have missed a big opportunity, that of playing a mediator role. They have instead simply followed Washington's and NATO's diktat, and this has been highly detrimental to both.
The role played by terrorist groups in the Russia-Ukraine war was also discussed during the conference.
We've seen how Daesh, Al-Qaeda, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham did encourage their combatants to travel to Ukraine, where they could be trained and receive weapons and Ukrainian citizenship if they enlisted in the Ukrainian army. Last year, Germany arrested terrorists who had entered the country on Ukrainian passports.
Meanwhile, the government of Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is preparing a decree for the country's 10th package of military aid for Ukraine since the war with Russia broke out in February 2022. Max Civili, Press TV, Rome.